that messy hair of hers. She looks like a dirty mop. Get out of here. I can't believe you just said that. I'm here for an interview too, just like you. Interviewing for a janitor position? Then sit somewhere off to the side, ugly girl.
No one in that waiting room had any idea the simply dressed woman they had just mocked was the owner of the company they were desperate to work for. Instead of defending herself, she quietly walked to the back of the room, took an empty seat, folded her hands in her lap, and waited. Because sometimes, people reveal their true character when they believe no one important is watching. For 10 years, Victoria had built VK Couture from nothing. She started with a tiny fashion studio that barely held a few clothing racks. There were no investors, no wealthy family, and no shortcuts. Only relentless work, painful failures, and an eye for fashion that couldn't be taught. Her designs soon became one of the most respected names in the industry. Women waited months just to buy her collections, yet very few people actually knew what she looked like. Victoria preferred letting her work speak louder than her face. That quiet lifestyle almost cost her everything. Just 3 months earlier, her trusted personal assistant, Chinyere, had secretly been feeding confidential information to criminals planning to rob her business. Victoria only discovered the betrayal after receiving an anonymous warning. When she checked the security footage, she watched someone she completely trusted giving detailed instructions about supplier schedules and inventory movements. She didn't scream. She didn't argue. The next morning she placed a printed photo from the security camera on her assistant's desk and calmly said only one sentence. "You can leave." Losing an employee was difficult. Losing trust was far worse. Determined not to make the same mistake twice, Victoria personally organized interviews for a new assistant. More than 200 people applied, but only 5 candidates were invited to the final round. Among them was 23-year-old Amara. Unlike the others, Amara wasn't chasing status. She had spent months searching for work after several disappointing jobs. Every rejection slowly chipped away at her confidence, but never destroyed her determination. When she saw the opening at VK Couture, she closed her laptop, knelt beside her bed, and whispered a simple prayer. If this opportunity is truly for me, let it come honestly. No manipulation. No luck. Just let the right door open. Then she got up and prepared as though she had already been hired. She studied every VK Couture collection she could find. She researched the company's supply chain, learned about its international suppliers, and practiced interview questions until her answers sounded natural instead of rehearsed. She couldn't afford new clothes for the interview. Instead, she carefully ironed the same terracotta dress she had owned for months, polished her shoes, and promised herself that preparation would matter more than appearances. On interview day, Victoria had planned to arrive wearing one of her signature designer dresses. But just minutes before leaving home, the zipper suddenly tore the side seam open. Rather than panic, she changed into a much simpler outfit, slipped on a pair of flats, grabbed her bag, and headed to the office. She had no idea that tiny accident was about to reveal everything she needed to know. 5 candidates gathered inside the elegant waiting room. The receptionist welcomed them with smiles and placed a tray of champagne in front of everyone. Most assumed it was simply a luxurious gesture from a successful fashion company. Only Victoria knew it was something much more valuable. It was a test. As glasses emptied, conversations became more honest. One candidate proudly admitted she mainly wanted free designer clothing to boost her social media image. Another openly confessed she planned to use the company's client database and supplier contacts to secretly build her own business. A third simply wanted any paycheck she could get. Only Amara quietly set her untouched glass back onto the tray. Moments later, Victoria entered the waiting room dressed so simply that none of the candidates recognized her. Before she could even pass through the room, one woman looked at Victoria's outfit, laughed loudly, and mocked her appearance. The others quickly joined in. Victoria stopped for just a second. She glanced at the women. She glanced at the VK Couture logo hanging on the wall behind them. Then, without saying a single word, she walked to the back row and sat beside Amara. She wasn't angry. She was listening. Because interviews had already begun. The candidates just didn't know it yet. Sitting beside Victoria, Amara quietly leaned over and whispered, "Please don't mind them. Some people forget who they are after one glass of champagne." Victoria smiled politely but said nothing. Instead, she listened. The woman who had mocked her first laughed again and leaned back in her chair. "I'm not even here because I love fashion," she admitted proudly. "I just need access to expensive clothes. Post them on Instagram, keep my followers impressed, and nobody has to know I actually work here." The others laughed. Another candidate shrugged before adding her own confession. "I already have a small fashion business. Working here gives me access to suppliers and clients. Why build everything from scratch when I can make a few useful connections?" She spoke as though it were the most reasonable business strategy in the world. Victoria's expression never changed. She simply watched. The third woman admitted she wasn't interested in building a career either. "I just need a paycheck. Do the work, collect my salary, go home. That's enough." Silence followed. Then Victoria turned toward Amara. "What about you?" she asked gently. Amara looked directly into her eyes. "I want to learn." The room grew unexpectedly quiet. "I know one day I'll build something of my own," Amara continued. "But before that happens, I want to learn from someone who has already built something real. I don't want shortcuts. I don't want to steal clients or copy ideas. When I finally leave, I want every bit of knowledge I carry with me to be something I've earned." For the first time that morning, Victoria felt completely certain. This was the answer she had been praying for. A few minutes later, an assistant entered the waiting room. "The interviews are about to begin." One by one, each candidate disappeared behind the office door. The confident woman who had mocked Victoria walked in first. She came out barely 10 minutes later with her smile completely gone. The second candidate entered looking certain she would impress everyone. Instead, careful questions about loyalty and ethics exposed the very intentions she had proudly shared moments earlier. She left looking pale. The third interview ended even faster. Then it was Amara's turn. She answered every question with calm confidence. She explained how she believed supplier relationships should be protected. She suggested practical improvements for inventory management. She spoke about customer experience with genuine passion instead of memorized interview phrases. Finally, one executive asked, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Amara smiled. "Owning my own fashion business." The room became silent. Before anyone could misunderstand, she continued, "But only after I've earned enough knowledge to deserve it. If I ever build something successful, I want people to respect it because I created value, not because I stole someone else's." Several members of the interview panel exchanged quiet smiles. The interview ended. 3 long days passed before Amara's phone finally rang. She answered with trembling hands. "Congratulations," the voice said. "We'd like to offer you the position." For several seconds she couldn't speak. When the call ended, she simply sat on the edge of her bed staring at the wall. Then tears slowly filled her eyes. Not because the journey was over, because it had finally begun. Working beside Victoria changed everything. Every meeting became a lesson. Every supplier negotiation became a masterclass in leadership. Instead of treating Amara like an assistant, Victoria gradually trusted her with bigger responsibilities. She included her in buying trips overseas. She invited her into strategy meetings. She explained every decision instead of simply giving orders. Years passed. Amara grew into exactly the professional she had dreamed of becoming. Then one afternoon, she quietly walked into Victoria's office. "I think I'm ready." "Victoria smiled. "I've been waiting for you to say that." Rather than trying to keep her best employee forever, Victoria helped her leave. She personally introduced Amara to trusted suppliers. She wrote recommendation letters. She even announced the launch of Amara's new fashion brand across VK Couture's social media, encouraging thousands of loyal customers to support her former assistant. Watching the announcement from the back seat of a taxi, Amara broke down in tears. She realized that the greatest mentor isn't the one who keeps talented people close forever. It's the one who prepares them to succeed without them. Soon afterward, Victoria needed another personal assistant. This time, she smiled as she prepared another tray of champagne for a new group of candidates. Because resumes reveal experience. Interviews reveal confidence. But only unexpected moments reveal character. And character will always be the most valuable qualification of all.